Here we go. Hey guys, Joe Rachel here. How are ya? Good to see ya. I am going to do the typical check and make sure I have audio. It's my greatest fear on these deals here is that I will not have audio. So, got audio. There we go. Good deal. So, how you guys doing today? Thought I'd jump in here. I got a little Ford Focus I'm working on here and some updates. I thought I'd share some information, some beneficial information here. I'm going to share a warning about the new 2018 and on Honda Civic hatchback, the infamous Honda Civic hatchback. So we'll get into that. I have also been utilizing alcohol in my installation process here, a different solution for that. So I want to go through that a little bit because I want to share some good info on that, some good progress. So the other thing too is the RYK shrink method. I'm going to share a little bit about that. Because I've really been focusing on that RYK shrink. If you haven't seen that, you can go and search it on YouTube and just type in RYK and or RYK method or something like that, shrink method maybe. Go and check that out. And that's a crazy process where this real, experienced veteran tinter is using 2 heat guns in a manner. And so I've been testing and experimenting with this process, right? Because I just wanted to see if this is something that I want to do. Is this something worth doing? Is it going to save me time? Does it take more time? And overall, I've come up with a strategy that I think is kind of utilizing that method to a certain degree. But in my opinion, it's a little faster and a little bit more efficient. And so I think you can get the same result. So let's talk about this car here for a second. This Ford Focus, if you guys have done any of these, I'm actually going to top load these windows here. This particular car, these door panels, they have quite a few screws. Maybe not this particular model. I just don't really like taking these apart, and I find that there's a lot of extra space inside on these particular Fords. So they top load real well, real clean. Because there's that extra space in there, you're not put in a position where you have to really manipulate the film in such a manner that it's going to crease and damage. And also that extra space gives you a little area to get rid of the water so you don't have dust and dirt sucking back in. So overall, this is one of the few cars that I actually enjoy top loading. So I'm going to top load on that. I'm going to cut some film here, so I'll let you guys see that while I'm doing that. But so that's a little bit about that car here. And I'm going to jump right into this warning that I have for this Honda Civic, and I'm going to make a video about this. I'm gonna show it and make something that I can actually share on the Tint Dude forums, because I'm not sure if anybody's run into this yet, but it's a major issue. And so what I ran into, of course, a lot of you guys know I do a lot of work for a local Honda dealership. And so I've done quite a few of these Honda Civic hatchbacks that have come out. And they have the wing in the way. So you either, if you want to shrink it and do it in one piece, you got to basically remove the wing, or you have to come up with a 2-step installation process with a workaround to shrink that bottom portion on a second smaller piece on the inside of the glass. And that's actually what I've been doing, is because I know how to seam a professional seamless look. And I know Ralph Van Pelt has a video about that, the lost art of seaming. I think it's important. I think it's something that we probably want to know how to do. And, why would you say that? Well, maybe a day will come when you'll need that skill. And that day has come. So the Honda Civic hatchback, you can utilize that skill. And I know I've been talking about this. I've just been so busy. I haven't been able to actually put this video into play yet. But I have it fully recorded and partially edited. I'm gonna have a whole video about how to do these two steps. When I get time, I'll have it out on the Honda Civic hatchback. I'm utilizing this two-piece process, and you install the pieces however you decide to do this. Well, the problem comes in. I get a hatchback, a 2018 Honda hatchback, no less a Type R comes through the shop about a week ago, and I do the car. The guy leaves, and his fuse box blows out. And so he doesn't say anything to me. The fuse block is underneath the hood. And so he just figures maybe, it seems like a coincidence, but maybe it's just something with the car. So he actually, luckily for me, this happened to somebody that is a manager at the local Honda dealership and really didn't have the desire to come and headhunt after me. I was able to learn a lesson on this where if it hadn't have been a manager from the Honda dealership, I would have ended up paying big time for this. So I installed the pieces like normal, and I what ends up happening is the water that went down into that area of the hatchback itself. There's this wire harness that goes through, so it goes through, from inside the car, behind this one of the side panels, and it comes through this little wire harness, little sealed tube that it's common with a hatchback. You see them all the time. Well, what happened was his water went down into the bottom portion of the hatch, which is actually the top as it's up, up in the air, the hatchback. Water runs down, goes toward where it should go to some kind of drain holes. But instead, on this unit, it drains down this tube where the wires go through. This moisture, this water travels down the tube and goes to some sort of connections and has a chain reaction that ends up being the fuse block blows out on this brand new 2818 Honda Civic hatchback. So it turns out we've got some vulnerability in that car, a lot like maybe I know there's some Audis and some other vehicles that you got to really be careful with in the rear window area, because there's either amplifiers or maybe even fuse equipment. I'm not sure on some other vehicles. I know like the Range Rover has like 12 different computers on it. And so, it's something you got to be concerned with on other cars. Well, I never thought I would have an issue with a hatchback. Of course, I pull out my coverings and my towels and different things on certain vehicles that I know are an issue. But it turns out that this particular new design of the 2018 and on Honda Civic hatchback has a vulnerability where your install solution can drip down this tube and run along these wires and end up causing a shortage or a problem. So I'm putting this out there. If anybody on here, I know there's some people on here, professionals, different tinters. This is a car you're going to want to watch out for. This is a car that's going to cause some issues, or potentially could cause some issues in the future. I don't know if there was maybe something that wasn't right on this particular unit with the manufacturing or the assembly of the unit itself, or if there's something different about the Type R as opposed to other models of the hatchback. But this gave me a problem that I have not had on any of the other hatchbacks that I did, and I did probably, I think maybe about, between 5 and 10 of these hatchbacks now. I would say more like probably 8. So about 8 of these. and no problem. And then I end up doing this most recent one, and we have a problem. So I'm gonna post this up on Tint, dude. I just thought of it before I was working on my first car here this morning. Some ideas came to mind. I figured I would jump on here, do a live stream, share some updates, share some info, give a little insight as to what I'm doing, and hopefully that'll help somebody. Obviously, you know, it's going to wreck your day if you go and tint some windows, end up having to pay. You know, I would imagine that's a couple $1,000 repair on a complete fuse block in a brand new hatchback. That's my guess. I don't know. It could be less than that. I don't know, but it's scary enough. It's something we want to be cautious of, be aware of out here with this new model. And then if you guys have influence, or if you guys have, you know, brothers and sisters in the industry, the people that you can share this with, we can let people know that this is something that we need to be aware of. I just had recently a Audi. I think it's an Audi A4. But in my pattern database, it has a warning. I use film and vinyl design. Inside the database itself, they have a warning for that particular car, letting you know that in that back driver's side trunk area below the deck, there's an amplifier it's a common problem that it can short out. So they, you know, they're just letting you know in there to be aware of it and cover that area if you can. And so just something I think was worth sharing. I wanted to let people know about that. I'm actually gonna I can check this here. I don't know if anybody has any comments, questions. I had some people recently join the Facebook group, so that's cool. If you're interested in doing that, you can go to facebook.com/groups/Tint Academy. You can see us on the website, www.learnhowtotintcarwindows.com. Learnhowtotintcarwindows.com, all spelled out. Sharing here. If anybody wants to jump in and be a part of this actual hangout, you could do that. I will post the like to meet you, say hi, whatever. I'll put the link in here. There's one link. If that doesn't work, let me know. There's another link. If you want to join in and say hi or whatever, if you got some tint questions, you got some stuff you want to share, or just hang out and shoot the breeze, that would be cool too. We had brother Jaybird on there. I wouldn't mind getting an update from him. He was having some issues shrinking on a Dodge Dart that is his personal car, and he was supposed to work on that this weekend, so I wouldn't mind hearing about that. But I don't know. He's working, I think, so I'm not sure if he'll have a chance to jump in here. But I had another guy ask question on last week's video as well, asking about my plotter, wondering if my plotter is raised up off the ground. And as many of you guys may know, I did actually put my plotter on stilts, so you can see it there. You can see the silver part there. That's the added. So I raise it up off the floor. None of my pieces are going to catch, and so it's a great way to. I like it better than the film catch, the actual fabric that you can have on there. I don't like the static cling that those generate, and I don't like the fact that the film has to fold and curl in going back and forth. I don't like that process. So I just eliminated that whole thing from my life, and it really works out good. I don't get static cling. I don't pick up any dust and dirt. And so that is what I've done with that. I'm going to share this now. I'm going to show this shrinking that I'm going to do here on this window, because what I'm and I mentioned this now. I've talked about this a little bit at length, and it's this RYK shrink method. So I showed the video in the last hangout. If you guys had a chance to see that, if you have not, go and see it. Right. But I found this on tintdude.com. I found this video, and the whole point of it is, apparently, the point of the RYK method is to, number one, I do like the idea of getting some warm air underneath the film. That I really do like, and I often use that method. But I just go and put a little air, come back to shrinking, put a little air, come back to shrinking. I do that on a tricky window. But what the point of it is to get more of an even, more of a complete shrink with less disfiguration or distortion, should I say, in the process of shrinking. Because as a lot of you guys know, you can shrink this film up here and not really get a thorough shrink, but yet when you smooth it out, either with your hard card or with your glove hand, it'll still smooth out and lay down. But you'll still have little unshrunken pockets of relief in the film that will manifest in special little bubbles inside the film, which in the industry we know them as peanuts. Okay, so this RYK shrink method was somebody's answer, and I think it was Flat Rock Stan, if you know who that is. Some of you guys that go on Tint Dude, he's a veteran on there. He doesn't know me, but I know him. You know how that works. But he was the one that brought the attention to this RYK shrink, RYK shrink method. And so this guy uses 2 heat guns, and he does this, process of shrinking. And it's very common to, but I think you can do it without 2 heat guns. And there's a little bit of a variable involved when you do this process, that you don't get a complete shrink, and the film will want to curl off once you install it. It'll want to curl away from the window. So I've just taken my time. I've played around with this with just 1 heat gun, and I've come to what I think is a better solution that is easily duplicated, that anybody can do, and you can achieve this proper shrinking and have less distortion, eliminate these peanuts through the process of using this shrink method, and scraping the defroster lines with a blade, which I've been mentioning. I mentioned it in a couple of videos. I'll show you again. So what I have is I have this wallpaper removal scraper that you can buy at any big box store. And this thing, it's wider than a regular blade, so you get a little bit more coverage, right? I mean, you can see here that the regular blade is, a fraction of the size. So this is about 3 widths of a regular razor blade. And so you just take it from the center and you drag it. You don't push that way where you're going to rip the lines off. You're actually literally dragging backwards. So it's backblading, they're calling it. And you're scraping just enough off the defroster line so that these peanuts are eliminated. So the combination of these 2 different processes, this specific style of shrinking, known as this RYK shrink method, and this process of backblade shrinking, will eliminate the chance of you getting these peanut bubbles. Now, are you going to do this on every single car? No, you're not going to do this on every single car. There are specific cars that have this tendency to have this peanut issue, and typically they're like Chevy Malibus, Chevy Impalas, even older Chevy Monte Carlos, which I don't think you're going to run into, but maybe. What other cars run into this? I'll see this on Nissan Maximas, Nissan Altimas. I'll see this once in a while on Fords. I'll see this on Chrysler 200s, 300s. For sure, they have really thick lines. I'll see this on Dodge Challengers, Dodge Chargers, really thick lines on those. This process will help you eliminate those peanuts on those particular cars. So I'm going to jump into this shrink method here, and I'm just going to share what I'm doing. Now, the difference is I'm using a linear motion back and forth, and I'm keeping the shrinking process even so that I'm not shrinking this portion all the way down and I'm still left with this portion over here. That tends to have an uneven shrink, if you ask me. So I like to kind of keep a full frontal, a front line, if you will. If you think in terms of like war, the front line, right? So I'm going to keep it in a front line, and I'm going to work that front line back and forth consistently, linearly, uh, parallel with the bottom edge, and I'm going to work this whole thing down. And I mean, it's still the difference between this and the RYK method is that he's not using his hand to smooth it all, and I think that is tough. He's got it perfected, but I don't think it's as efficient as it should be. So let's go at this. This is even an area right here where I can see, it's probably hard for you, but I can see if I don't operate properly here, I could have a pinch and I could make a crease here. But what this does, now my heat gun's nice and hot. So you're not going to get a lot right up front. But once you really get this thing, and I might work in one little area for a second, but you'll see that when your film is properly shrunk, it's going to go from vertical to horizontal, and you're going to see that physical change, and you're going to know that okay, it's ready to smooth out. And so I'm going to just get the top. It takes a little bit to get it going, and I'm going to spend a little bit more time even when I think it's shrunk, but then I'm going to begin this process. And I'm taking these long sweeping strokes. It has something to do with really uniformly, if that's even a word, I don't know, but shrinking the film. And I'm going to spend time at the front line to make sure that it is really shrunk up, because you'll be surprised. Sometimes you'll try to smooth it and it won't want to smooth effectively. You spend a little bit more time there and you'll see that it'll smooth out. So it looks like it's shrunk, but really it's just not shrunk enough. And you can see the film starts to go down by itself, flat, and your relief is completely horizontal. Okay, and then when I do go over this and smooth it out, it's really just like very simply, very easily, it's smoothing out. Now right here, it's not wanting to smooth. So I'm gonna go up here and I'm gonna spend just a little bit more time on that area. And I'm gonna just kind of work this, and as soon as it's properly shrunk, it'll just smooth out. But you're gonna spend that a little bit of extra time and make sure that it smooths out really nice. All right, and I'm just going to keep using this wide sweeping stroke until I even see the very edge of the film just go horizontal and just lay down. And this has really been helping me, and I think it can help other people definitely. So I'll switch my glove hand, and it's okay, you know, like this RYK method. Now the RYK shrink method, the guy pulls the top, he puts two heat guns together and uses two heat guns, which really fast, but I just don't think that you need it. You can get rid of the distortion, avoid the peanuts, and really come up with a really nice clean install just using one heat gun, good and hot. And I'm just gonna go, you'll notice that some back windows and their curvature dictate the speed that you go by, and the speed may be different, and the film will behave differently and shrink differently depending on the back window. So you kind of have to adjust yourself to that. But I'm just gonna go back when it smooths out nice and easy. I know that I got a good shrink that's going to be really distortion free. And I'm just going to keep working this up real even. I'm going to spend a little time here focusing on that corner. And the ends of where you're shrinking, the section you're shrinking on, the ends have a tendency to kind of be funny. So you want to take your time there. You don't want put yourself in a situation where you're going to get a crease. Really take your time. Don't get too close to the film. Don't concentrate. Obviously, you can see this method is it's keeping me from putting too much heat concentration in one area and causing myself a crease. Okay? And you'll notice, really, it's all in the feel. If you're not using a glove for your shrinking processes, then you might not feel this. But if you are, you can feel the amount of resistance that is present in the film when you smooth, when you do your smoothing stroke. And you can tell when the film is completely and properly shrunk, you'll have really just almost no resistance. It'll just lay down real beautifully. So I'm just gonna keep going here, and typically you would have the desire to really smooth out the top portion quite a bit faster than what I'm doing. I'm really going over it and making sure that I get a full and complete shrink. This is really the process of being patient and letting that vertical relief go horizontal. And when it does, that's when you've completely eliminated the distortion. Now I've got in here where it didn't really want to smooth out really good. You'll notice you'll push down in the area and it'll make it turn up. When it turns up the relief going vertical again, that's an area that you want to hit with a little bit more heat and give it this back and forth linear motion. And you're going to get a feel for this. This is going to help you really learn and get a good, solid, patient, effective shrinking process so that you can really master the back windows. It's taking a little bit longer. You can do a faster shrinking job, but you will not eliminate that peanut bubble issue. So it's nice to know which cars this is a valuable method for, and it's definitely the ones I mentioned earlier. If there's more, if you can think of another type of vehicle that this is common with in regard to these peanuts, feel free to throw it up in the chat. If you're watching this later, you can leave comment. I know a lot of people are working right now, so I'm working now, and maybe I'll come on tomorrow night if I'm in the mood. You see that even myself, I'm trying to implement this process a little bit more. I have a tendency to want to go back to kind of doing little short strokes and circular motion and just a little tight area. But I'm trying to remember, and this works also if you're shrinking side windows. This works 100%. If you're shrinking on the peel board for your side windows, this will eliminate the need for doing the double snap. It really is a thorough shrink job, and what it does is it really shrinks that very bottom edge very nicely, so you don't run into that situation where you are dealing with that little bubbles that are going to pop up when you do your install. Especially important, like this here, what I'm doing is I'm going to top load this stuff. So I'm going to need to make sure that my bottom edge of my door pieces is really, really shrunk properly. Otherwise, I'm going to end up dealing with bubbles, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to deal with bubbles. That will set you back at least 15 or 20 minutes typically to dick around and heat up bubbles and try to dry the water out of there and try to get them to sit down. So you can eliminate that by shrinking properly, and you can use the same type of stroke in your shrinking of the side windows, especially if you're using the peel board and shrinking on the peel board, which is what I do. It's the best. So wanted to share that today, guys. I'm not going to make a real long video. You've seen all this stuff already. We got one viewer right now. I'm getting some views, getting people watching, starting to get a little activity. Not really doing any major search engine optimizing or anything. Just trying to be here, be an encouragement, help people out if I can, share what I'm doing. You know, I mean, 25 years and I'm still learning things. I'm gladly listening and looking at new ideas, new install methods. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about, and I suppose I could bring this closer so you could actually, I'll show the install while I discuss the alcohol solution. This is an area, the alcohol solution is really an area where I've been behind the times, quite honestly. And I'm not afraid to share that with you and be upfront and be honest. I'm sure there's a lot of people, even people watching, and you might say, you know, no doubt, you know, whatever. How could this guy not know about this or whatever? But you know, one of the things we do in this life is, you know, we get a little bit of knowledge, and we get, maybe like for this industry, we get a little system down that works good, and then we, you know, we kind of get fearful to veer off track, or we might get a little prideful and we don't want to kind of admit maybe there's something better. And so I did that for a lot of years. You know, I liked my system and I had my system, and I didn't want to, you know, I didn't want to admit maybe that there was something better, and but I've kind of dropped that, and I'm I've begun the process of exploring what other people were doing. And the reason being is I just wanted to see, am I doing things the most efficient way possible, or is there something that somebody else is doing that might help me, that might be better? And so I've begun that process a few years ago, and I've told this story before. I have I started uh, removing door panels and bottom loading only a few years ago. And I got to turn the heat down in here, guys. Give me a second. But just a few years ago, before that, I thought, oh, that's just a waste of time. I don't know why people would go through that extra work. And I was prideful. I thought I knew the best way. And so I didn't bother trying it. And I kept seeing it pop up on Tint Dude, and eventually I was like, you know what, let me, and I really thought I was going to disprove the people out there. And I thought I was going to really try this and just show how stupid it is. Well, it turned out that when I started doing a little bit of bottom loading, just experimenting, that my tint jobs came out much cleaner and much more professional and much less likely to crease or have contaminants. And so you know, I started to obviously implement that into my daily you know, install practices, because it just made sense and it actually turned out to be faster. And so I was that was one of the moments when I, you know, I had like an aha moment where I thought, wow, I mean, I wonder what other stuff people are doing that is allowing them to be more efficient than me, and even maybe produce better work than me, because I'm sitting here and I'm being a pighead and thinking that you know, I got it all figured out. And so you know, I'm a man of faith, man. I think that the Father has things set up that way, so that you have to kind of dump what you think you know at a certain point, and and let Him teach you a new thing. And so I had to do just that. And so alcohol is another one of these things within the tint industry. And actually, I'm jumping ahead of myself here with this cleaning process here. I'm talking, so I'm gonna razor scrape this. But anyways, so I thought all in your bottle or any alcohol in your solution was just ridiculous. I thought, man, I'm typically fighting against the film sticking too soon and having a hard time position if I don't have the right amount of soap solution. And so I thought alcohol in my bottle is just completely ridiculously stupid for tinting. I could not imagine how that could actually help or be a benefit. And of course, I'm sure there's guys that are going to watch this, and I'm just trying to be humble and let you know that I got something to share with somebody, but I'm here to learn too. And I think it'd be cool to share what you've found in your testing. And so recently, with my brother Jaybird, who I'm not sure if he's on or not, but he watches, and we met on here. Good guy, fellow 20-year veteran of the industry, and he's excited picking up some new skills the same way I'm excited picking up new skills. And he's actually the one that shared the video of another guy. I posted a link in the last video of him installing with alcohol in his bottle. And so I figured, man, I'm going to try this out. We'll give it a shot, see what this is all about. I can't imagine it's that great. And it is. It's just phenomenal. It is. I use alcohol every day now, and it's become just unbelievable. And what it does for you is, number one, you got to get your mixture right. You've got to get the mixture in the bottle proper. So depending on the size of the bottle, the amount of shampoo and the amount of alcohol is going to differ quite a bit. So you're going to have to figure that out. But like on a normal pump type, cheap, generic spray bottle that probably holds, I don't know, 25 ounces of fluid, right? A regular Zap or the ones with the 5-year, the silver with the 5-year seal guarantee, those type of bottles, right? Where you got the pump sprayer. I'll show one in a minute. Those type of bottles I put and I fill it up to the fill line, and I put just like literally 2 drops of the soap that I use. And then I put 4 capfuls of 70% isopropyl alcohol into this bottle. Okay. And I spray after my windows are clean and I'm bottom loading. Let's say I'll spray the bottom half of the window with my normal solution. I'll leave the top half dry, and then I'll come and I'll spray the entire piece with this alcohol solution. And then I'll quickly come and get it in the car. The alcohol, it gives you just enough time to get the window positioned properly. And then when you make your first little squeegee, this is the first really exciting and benefit of using alcohol, is the ability for it to stick and bite to the glass right away. So you don't end up having a piece that slides around and changes the amount of gap that you have at the top of your window. So it gives you that. It gives you consistency in utilizing your squeegees and making sure that you can get a much tighter, much more consistent edge at the top of a window. It helps big time with that. It helps uh, big time if you're filing or shaving, because now your piece is going to be more intimately seated, if you will. It's going to be stuck down properly. So when you go to shave or file, you're not going to have the piece popping off the glass and changing the result of your shaving. And so or shaving or filing, which is, you know, 2 things that give you similar, basically the same result. But the alcohol really helps with that. And it really, I just noticed the film dries a little different. It has a little bit less haziness in it. And it really is awesome. It really works out really good. So it's something I recommend that you try doing. I did I did show, I think, in the last video. Yeah, actually, the video I posted about it on the channel has a real close-up, has me filling the bottle, has me testing out the solution, and yeah, I could have did all that in the background and then came out here and acted like I've been doing it for years and show you, but I mean that's not how I operate. So I want to, I want to share and be honest and show my exciting things that I'm learning too and how I'm growing. So that's something I really recommend. If you're not using that, what a excellent method that is. That is just phenomenal. And so I'm just getting this piece down into place here. Pretty straightforward on these focus. If you don't know about this, on these Ford Focus, you can see where I'm grabbing. See where I'm grabbing here? You can literally pull this deck and it'll give you about a ½ inch of space down at the bottom. It doesn't work on the Fusion. It works only on the Focus, but it'll give you enough space because otherwise these bottom decks are really tight on these. But that gives you enough space to really get that bottom edge of the film down in there and make sure it's clean, and you can get a good clean install even with that deck in place, because otherwise it's tricky. You have that hair, the carpet from the deck right there pressing up against the window. So this allows you to get your squeegee down below that. And it really is one of the little tricks that I utilize in this particular vehicle. And it works good. I rarely end up with any contamination that is from a result of the carpet itself. So something I recommend doing on there. So anyways, yeah, those are the things I wanted to share today, and just kind of let people know what they could do, how some of these things are working out for me. And I'm going to cut the video probably short here, unless it looks like I got some questions there. I'll get to those in just a second here. Give me a second. I'm just going to get this window installed, get it dried up around the edges here. I use kind of a 2 squeegee process, both kind of similar. I don't know why I do this actually, but I've got the side swiper here, and then I got the stroke doctor here. Obviously the stroke doctor has a little bit longer blade, or a little bit longer handle, I should say. And I just love these squeegees. I just put new blades in both of these the other day, and they last long. They work great. I love them. So I recommend them. Some people don't like them because sometimes the blue blade will get stuck like in a panel, and the blade itself will come out. If you heat the white plastic part up with your torch or your heat gun and squeeze it in and literally manipulate the shape of it, it'll hold this blue squeegee blade better and it'll stay in. And they are just, man, I love them. They last 10 times longer than anything else out there on the market, and they do just a fantastic job of removing moisture. And I don't have to dry squeegee. I go over every window 2 times, and I get a really nice, clean, and consistent job. So I enjoy that. Give that a try if you haven't used one of these squeegees. I used to do like everyone and buy the other Blue Max and all those, and I find that those dull and get nicks in them way faster. And when they dull, they streak water behind, and so I really don't like that. I like when I get a squeegee that's doesn't leave anything behind, and I can see contaminants much better. Then I don't have all that stuff in the way. Any streaking water or anything like that in the way. So it's better for me. I think it's better all around. But if you guys use Blue Max, I love you. I don't mind. I just find these to be better and last longer. But maybe it's just me. So I'm just gonna go ahead and dry this up. These dry up really nice. like I can dry this whole window up like I never worked in here, did anything in here. They are really nice to work on. And I'm just going to take my hard card. I got the pink hard card. And I'm going to go just with my paper towel and just sop up any additional moisture around the edge. And this really, this more complete shrink method, it does have a tendency to make the film want to roll off the window. So I can notice what's happening ahead of time. And then what I'll do is I will just heat up in some key areas. It's typically the top. I think what it does is it causes a little bit more tension in the film. It eliminates the distortion. Oh, wait, messed up a little bit there. I may have creased it. Yeah, I did a little bit. I'm gonna hammer that out with some heat. This is a car off the dealer lot here, so I'm not gonna go too crazy. But I caught the film a little bit right there. I don't think it's bad. So you want to put a little focus on the edge of the film at the top when you utilize this method, because you'll eliminate the distortion in the film and really eliminate the possibility of peanuts, but in turn you'll have a film that is holding quite a bit more tension up in this area, and you can't see it, but it's curling a little bit. So it's one of the byproducts. It's quite a bit easier to deal with than and I'll get that bubble there. So what I'll do is no big deal. I'll just put down a little heat here. And I'll just make sure this thing is warm, or even, hot, not too hot. But I'll give it about whatever that is, about 8 seconds. Give it a little heat, and then I got a little bubble there. I'm going to deal with that bubble at the bottom there. That was the problem there. It didn't really shrink all the way that it should have, maybe in that little area. But this is a car that once in a while you could see peanuts on. Ford really is like these Focus and Fusions. There's not a real consistency for the thickness of the lines. So sometimes the lines will give you the ability to form these peanuts if the lines are sprayed on too thick. And let me just hit this here. All right, I'm going to give that a little heat, and then real quickly I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to push that down. I don't want to let that sit too long. And now I might need to heat this up a couple times. I might need to heat it, squeegee it a little bit, let it sit for a while till I'm done, and then come back and heat it again, because some of the moisture will be evacuated out of there. And I have a little crease there. So, I mean, if this was a customer's car, you'd have to take this off and redo it. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to give this some time to dry. I'm going to do the rest of the windows. And then I'm going to come back and iron that down. Let's just see here once. I might be able to iron that down right before your eyes here. I might destroy the film. That's a possibility too. And that happened because that deck is in there and I went sideways. And so that's just one of the things. I'm talking to you guys, and that's one of the things that can happen. And I still have some moisture down there, so I'll just keep going here. I'll give it a little bit more heat, just a few seconds each time. Eventually it should get hot and just stay down. I don't want to hammer on it and too large of an increment of heat time. if that makes sense. I don't want to put heat on it for too long at in one specific shot, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Let's see what we got there. I know I didn't crease it. Yeah, see, it totally went away. So here, I really just eliminated a crease before your eyes. And I'm going to show this so you can see that, where was it? I can't even see where it is. Okay, here's where it was. You can see it on the camera. Yeah, you see that? But literally, it's gone. It's not actually showing. You can see it on the camera, but it's not visible out here. It's actually stuck down. So if you have tinting experience, you know what I'm saying there. Like nobody's gonna see that, but I know where it is. But yet there's no air, there's no moisture behind it. I'm just gonna give it, and you got to be careful at this point now, because that glass is hot, and if I heat it just the next time I try to put some heat in there, it could be the last time. It could melt and bubble the film and cause massive problems. So I'm gonna leave that because this car, what it is, and the fact that it's a car off the lot for sale, and I got the crease handled. No one's gonna see it or know it was there, and so I'm just gonna focus again on this top section that I did a little heating. I can see that it wants to kind of roll off. So after practicing and messing with this, I know that's a tendency of that RYK shrink, more thorough shrink method. So I just focus on that after I do the job. I got my hard card here with the slip tape on it so I don't scratch nothing. And I'm going to let that go now. That's done. So we'll now I know that Patrick over there at Window Tinting Business, he's got a video I seen how to fix a crease. Hey man, it's something you're gonna deal with, if you're watching these other instructors, I know there's people on here just whizzing through stuff, and not only you're not getting a lot of theology or a lot of explanation, but you don't see any of these mistakes that you're going to run into as a beginner, and you need to learn how to deal with them. Let me go back to this chat here. I apologize, man. Let me see what we got. Terrence is on here. He just recently joined in. Appreciate seeing you, brother. And what are you working on today? He says the Mustang is one of those particular vehicles that give you an issue. And definitely, I'm going to step out of the frame here for a second. Give me just 1 minute. All right, guys. Sorry about that. I had to use the bathroom real quick. I'm actually kind of a crazy health nut conspiracy dude, and I've been drinking a gallon of distilled water a day. And you're gonna end up having to visit the little boys' room quite a bit when you do that. If that's something that intrigues you, go on YouTube there and just type in "the truth about distilled water." And you can watch videos about that. Yeah, Terrence, wondering what you're working on today. Terrence is he's been tinting for 1 year, I'm not sure where you are, brother. Throw that in the chat there. Where are you at? Where are you working? What part of the country are you in? All that good kind of stuff. I'd like to know more about everybody. And the link is there for the Hangout if you want to join in. You're welcome to just click on the link. If it's better if you have a headset and a camera, but if not, no problem. You're free to do so. But wonder where you work, my friend. Let me post it in the chat just in case he had to drop out for a minute. I know he's at work, so I'm not sure, but let's just see. Let's put it in here. All right, type that in there. Oh, he says he's listening while he's tinting a back glass on a Camry. Cool, man. Those are pretty straightforward. You gotta pop them side panels. Typically, I pop them every time. I'm not doing. I'm top loading. So I tell you what. If you guys, I might as well stick around and share. I'll put. I'm gonna cut some film here. So I got a shorty roll. I'm gonna swap out for this big roll here. And yeah. So yeah, we'll go through, and I will. I'll cut these pieces, shrink these pieces, and I don't know. I'll stay on for, I guess, a while. Whatever. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So, we'll get these pieces cut here. Just gonna, I order my film, and I order 60-inch rolls, and then I have them cut into 38 and 22-inch, smaller rolls. So some of this production style film that I use for these car dealerships, it's a lesser expensive film. I won't mention the brand here right now, but it's decent. It's a dyed polyester, but it's gonna brown out a little bit over the course of a couple of years. But it's more than adequate for what I'm doing for this bulk wholesale tinting account that I have. And so I use Reno products, which I believe are fantastic. Reno, if you don't know about Reno, they are a South Korean company. Before you think to yourself, man, I want American made, truly, I think it's Eastman Companies making most of the film, and they say they're made in America, but they're definitely not. And that's been exposed. So you got a South Korean phone or a Chinese phone in your pocket, more than likely. So this company is really, what I think they're doing is revolutionizing the manufacturing process of automotive, or even commercial window film, and even what's coming out in the future, electronic window film. And that's exciting. They got some cool products, but they've actually, instead of the layering process of the film being like a dyed polyester with a layer of nano ceramic on top of it, they've fused the material into one substrate. It's super cool. It's a really nice product. I love working with it. It shrinks great. And that's the stuff that I use for my customer cars. And really, I am 100% behind Reno window films. I know I've seen a couple complaints about their S7 or S9 film. At some point, there was a problem with the adhesive. That has been addressed, and the adhesive has changed, and I use these products. I haven't had any problems or issues with them, and really love them. The other thing I did see on there was something to do. People had some problems with I think some of the first generation paint protection film. And I tell you what, man, I used Lumar paint protection film years ago, and I thought it was junk. I'm sure it's improved now, and it's probably not a problem, but I was scuffing and scratching that stuff very easily in the first generation of the Lumar paint protection film. So these kind of problems, any company can run into these different issues, man, and they'll work it out. And this company, South Korean company, RYK, you can get in touch with, in the Midwest, Ed Grabos is the rep for the Midwest region. If you just go on their website, you'll automatically be directed to the rep in your area. And it's just, I love it. Great film. Happy to use it. I think when I mentioned, I think they're going to revolutionize the tinting industry, the way tint is manufactured. What I meant by that is the process that they have of fusing the nano ceramic particulate with the carbon based material itself. I think that's going to revolution. I think all the manufacturers within the next 5 or 10 years are going to be doing that, and they're not going to be layering the film anymore. And they're not going to be using dyed polyester, which can still be something that can have color change. So obviously, this carbon material, the film is literally made with the color rate in it. You can watch little tests on their website, little experiments they did in solvents and different lighting conditions, and they show how the dyed polyester can still be damaged or still change colors, and the Reno carbon-based material stays intact. They're pretty impressive little experiments. You can check that out on Reno's website, rayno.com. You can see it here, RAYNO.com. And so cool stuff. Check that out. And what I'm doing is I'm just going to go ahead. I can probably show this a little bit better once I get prepared here to actually do some shrinking. I'll show this peel board shrink technique again. I got it in other videos, but I know you're not going to go searching through this video archive of these live streams that are a couple hours long sometimes and go and find these things. I'm going to make individual videos. I'm doing live streams because I like to get some video content up there, and I'm so busy, man. I'm working 50, 60 hours a week. I got a newborn at home. I'm trying to buy this building. I'm getting stuff together now, as most of you guys are, for tax time, and that's always fun being self-employed. I've really eliminated a lot of the headache now. I've got myself set up as an S corporation, and I've got myself some good tax and accounting software. Tried a few different kinds over the years. I tried the QuickBooks. I just recently left FreshBooks, and now I am using Zoho, Zoho accounting. It's called Zoho Books, and I'm not looking back there. By far, I think the best. I'm pretty satisfied with them. I know there's people that like QuickBooks too, but if you're not, if you have not yet started using some accounting software, then I would look at Zoho because it's very inexpensive, $9 a month, and all the reports that you would need if you ever want to make a commercial purchase or any of that kind of stuff are all in there. Balance sheets and profit and loss, and all the stuff you're going to need. There's a million different reports available in there, so that's nice. Nice added benefit. FreshBooks, they don't have much of that stuff, and so I know if you're using QuickBooks, it has a lot of that stuff. I had an experience with Intuit customer service that I basically vowed never to use them again. So I just bypassed QuickBooks recently, and you know, some of these companies, they get real big and then they don't need you. They've got a million other people buying their software, so they might leave you hanging. And I ran into a situation like that with them. So so now what I'm doing is I'm just actually just squeegeeing down. So I'm going to shrink on the peel board here, and I am going to I'll show you this side here when I get going over there. And so I am going to, I want to get the water out of the way. Going to do this peel board shrinking. So I got these pieces completely shrunk, or squeegeed down, I should say. Now I'm going to trim off the excess. I'm going to be careful to really get a real tight trim job on the sides, because that's going to help me when I actually install. All right, so it's not as necessary top and bottom, but on the sides, you really want to get a real tight trim. The reason being is if when you go to top load, if you have a lot of extra cellophane on the sides here, it becomes a problem when you try to slide the piece into the gasket area on the vehicle itself. So I keep those trimmed very tightly. Still talking again. If you just join in, you can join the Facebook group, ask questions, share, and whatever. It's facebook.com/groups/Tint Academy. You can go there, join in there, join in the discussion. Admittedly, it's not a very big group at the moment, but it will be. And you're welcome to join in if you like. Otherwise, you can see the website is completely actually a revamped. I did a bunch of work on it here in the last week, getting it ready for what I'm going to be doing. And so the homepage has a little bit different look, a little more information. And so I'm working on that. And check that out. Learn how to tint carwindows.com. So now I've got these pieces squeegeed down here. What I'm going to do is I want to make sure that this bottom section is shrunk. Okay, so I don't want this bottom section. If I don't shrink this and I bottom load or I top load, when I go to finish and tuck the bottom in, it's going to finger up. It's going to bubble, cause fingers. It's going to suck moisture and water up under the film, and it's going to bring with it all kinds of, potentially all kinds of contamination. So if I just simply do this, and I'm going to use the same RYK style shrinking on this. So I dry the underneath and I go ahead and I just give a little heat in the center where I'm going to shrink it. It'll tighten it up a little bit, and it'll help me to make that pocket that I actually want to shrink out. And I'm going to go about an inch in from the edge and press it down. And now I've got this pocket here. I don't know if you can see it. You can see it shimmering around there a little bit, but it's basically from here to here. And I'm going to use this same shrink method that I used with the RYK method, because this is going to make sure that I get a really proper and complete shrunk portion here. And it's going to eliminate the bubble situation at the bottom. And it's really nice. When you get it working right, you'll see the film folding down right before your eyes, and you'll see, more importantly, the bottom edge tighten up smooth. And you know when you see it tighten up smooth on the bottom that it's not going to cause fingers. If you squeegee it down too soon, you might get it to lay down here on the board, but when moisture's involved inside, it'll suck water up and it'll bubble. So this process also eliminates the need for the double snap, which is what it's called when you pull the film back again and reshrink again a second time, just to make sure. If you do this properly and give it enough time and be patient, yeah, you might spend an extra couple minutes here, but I guarantee it's better to spend a couple minutes here than to be inside the vehicle and have bubbles popping up on the door panels when you have the seals in place. Honestly, if you're a beginner, it's probably a lot better for you to just pull seals and bottom load. I'm able to really know what I'm doing and spend enough time prepping and do this right so I don't have contamination and everything coming in. So I don't have a complete nightmare of an install here. But I can pull this back and I can set myself up for a double snap. And then I can look and step off to the side and I can see that my whole edge is clean. It's shrunk evenly, and I'm not going to have an issue with bubbles. And in fact, when you do this and you go to shrink it a second time, nothing really happens because it's already shrunk pretty much as the film's already going to allow. So if I was top loading, I wouldn't even shrink this car because really, honestly, it doesn't have a lot of relief that needs to be taken up. The reason why I am shrinking is because I'm going to top load, and I know then that water's present, and that's when problems can arise. Get that relief going completely horizontal, same as the back window, and really what you end up with is a really nice, even shrink job that lays down just beautifully and gives you much less headache. And you just want to make sure you have that long enough stroke. It's got to be at the right speed so that it works the material just right, and you'll get a feel for it, and you'll be able to master this. Now, I already was utilizing this technique when I seen the RYK shrink method. I wasn't using the 2 heat guns and all that, but what it did do for me was it made me focus a little bit more and have a little bit longer, wider stroke and a little bit more even and consistent method. And it really did change how I'm shrinking, and it changed the outcome, changed the installation dynamic as well. So it really works out good. Not sure who's watching. Say hi if you can here. I'm waiting for an answer from Terrence there. We'll see. I'll throw a couple pieces on. My plan was to end the video a little sooner here, but I don't even need this cart. What I do need is a couple of stools. Grab one of those. And I'm just going to whiz through and clean these windows here. And you might not see a whole lot on this side while I'm over here. Still working on, I know I talk about it, I'm just giving updates, but I'm going to work on, I have something in the works for a nice live stream that I think will be really multi-camera, and some good visibility will be the result. Put the key on here. Hopefully I got enough juice in this car where this battery is not going to go dead. All these cars right now are coming in from outside in the winter, and they're sitting on these car dealerships, and so they tend to have less power and less ability to maintain a charge when I turn the key on. I got a charger. I could throw it on. It's over there. I think this one should be okay. If not, I may have to jump it quick, grab my jumper box at the end. Typically once a week, twice a week, that might happen. I'm just scrubbing. I'm making sure to feel the window with my bare hand, find any of that little contaminants that might be on the glass, adhesive or paint or welding splatter or anything like that. The used car market, you'll see that quite a bit. The welding splatter. It's just literally like little black specks literally melted right into the glass. You scrape it and it leaves a little divot. It's pretty common. You'll see that every once in a while. You'll install. You'll have bubbles with what will appear to be dirt, and you'll go and you'll try to tint it again and clean a little better this time is what you're thinking will be, and then you'll tint it again and you'll have it again. And that stuff actually was what led me to start really using my hand to feel the surface of the glass, because you can feel those little imperfections and then you can deal with them when you have them, and it's a lot better to deal with them up front, obviously, and get a clean install. But when you have them on back windows, it's tough. You can't really scrape on the razor, with the razor blade on the lines. So that's kind of a tricky thing. So, all right, let's get these shrunk and installed here. Yeah, so I was glad to have an opportunity to share that info about the Civic, man. That wasn't fun at all to find out, but luckily I didn't have to pay for that. So, man, I don't know what that would have been. Probably a couple of thousand. That wouldn't have been good. Still bothers you. It's like I had a part in causing some damage to a car, and that's never good. But I learned a lesson on that one for free. So we got to figure out how to better protect that drain or that wire harness in that vehicle. Next time I get one in here, I got to really look at it and figure out. I think I might even be able to show a picture of that real quick. I got it on my phone. I can do that later, maybe. I'm just going to go ahead and get this vehicle closed out. I got a couple more vehicles to do here today. And just thought I'd jump in here. Wonder what kind of vehicles everybody's working on today. What do you got in the shop? What kind of challenges are you facing? It's fun to read on the Tint Dude forums and see what people are dealing with. I seen a guy on there talking about, or this morning, I checked out a thread talking about the dot matrix at the top of a back window. And of course, I am one of these guys. I often share these little shortcuts or workarounds or alternative materials. So one of the materials that people use for that dot matrix, you got people doing this glue technique, which honestly I tried once and didn't really like it. I don't know. I didn't have a good feeling about it. So I may have been wrong. I may need to spend a little more time on that. But I like to use blackout material, and one of the materials that is out there that is for the tint industry, so to speak, is that dot trick stuff. And they get like $120 for a 50-foot roll. And so what I did is I went to the sign company, local Midwest Sign and Graphics, whatever, and I went there and I explained what I needed, and they set me up with I think it's a 3M material. I gotta pull it off the shelf and look at it. But basically, if you buy a thin black sign vinyl, that's I think this is a 5-year material. Although you're not gonna have a problem with it in 5 years. That's just for basically for sign usages. If you put it on the back of a window at the top of a window, it pretty much lasts indefinitely and doesn't change colors and doesn't give a problem. But that stuff works out really good and it's cheap. It's like $60 for 150 yards of it. And so that's what I use. I can grab the box here and show you what it is. But that's for the dot matrix when you run into that. It's actually a Gerber. It's a Gerber product. Gerber Technologies. And this is Gerber 220 12 220-12 black 15-inch. And now I have a replacement for that, which is another. It's a 3M graphic film 50. So those are two different materials that you can utilize for that. So I might have just lost my audio here. Let me see. I think we're good. Okay, yeah, I'm good. All right, so I'm gonna go to installs, guys. I appreciate it. We didn't get an answer back, so Terrence is probably busy, but he'll comment later. I appreciate you guys watching, and if you have any questions or you watch later, feel free to comment below, like, share, any of that stuff. Join the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Tint Academy, or you can see the website, learnhowtotintcarwindows.com. There's going to be information there. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to comment, hang out. If you want to come and hang out, if you're a fellow tinter with knowledge or information to share, a veteran of the industry, a beginner, whatever it might be, you'd be more than welcome to come aboard. Just comment or send me a message. You can reach me, join the Facebook group, and let me know. And I'd be happy to have you aboard, and we can share and shoot the breeze about the industry, talk about what it is we do, and share just insights, tips, and all that good stuff. So appreciate you jumping aboard today. I was super happy to share and talk about these different things, the RYK method, this Honda Civic problem, and also using alcohol. If you're not using alcohol yet, really give it a shot. Try it out, and you are really going to be happy. I think you're going to be really satisfied with how that helps the installation process. So good to see you. Good to talk with you, and we will see you in the next video. All right. All right. Take care. All right. Bye.